all about tying the mining system to all of the other systems that we really want to sort of focus on in the future. Things like cargo and crafting and anything that would basically allow the player to create things within the universe. So you would typically go out in your mining vehicle, your prospector, your mole, and you would try and find asteroids with preferably valuable materials. So the general idea that we want to put across to players is that you can go out and mine anything you want, but you might also want to be paying a bit more attention to the materials that you're actually bringing back. The refined versions of these materials, which would be more valuable and sell for more than the basic raw materials that you were getting from the asteroid in the first place. When you create your job, you will toggle the refine or discard on each individual material in the cargo hold. And what this will allow you to then do is select the processing type that you would typically want to choose, and you can click the get quote button. And what this will do is it polls our backend systems and the refinery system itself to determine the current cost and price and duration of that job in the universe at that exact time. The numbers that you're seeing here as well, the cost of the jobs, the yield that you're getting out, the value of what these materials will end up being ultimately when the patch is released, are subject to change. They're currently going through several balancing passes and are not final, so please no one freak out. Everything you see in ISC is work in progress. Jared made me say this. Refineries also function under a capacity system. There's no limit to the number of jobs they can actually run at any one time, but obviously the higher that you go, the higher that number of the percentage of refinery capacity is, the more the job is going to cost, and it's down then to the player to determine, is this job worth me doing here, or am I basically going to lose money by running a job here when I could take it somewhere else? Refineries additionally also have proficiencies. You could perhaps find a refinery that is extremely good at processing Quantanium, and therefore they will offer you more in the way of yield when you commit the job to them. Typically, this is to encourage players to shop around for the best bargains. Jobs can be anywhere from a few minutes to several hours, depending on the size of the job, the processing type you chose, and the general amount of work and capacity that the refinery is currently at. So jobs can be either created and left until their duration expires, but if you're out and about when a job finishes, you'll receive a notification on your visor that states that the job that you completed at the refinery in question has finished. Or you can cancel early and receiving the already processed materials at the cost of discarding the rest. This is to give players the option of claiming a job when maybe all of the Quantanium in the job has been already finished, or allow them to just cancel a job early because they feel like they're going to get enough from it. So ultimately what we wanted to do is we wanted to provide the players with more choice. It's important that we allow players to make bad decisions, but it's also important that we give them all the information that they need to make the good decisions. Whether this is the miner that could decide to just sell his raw materials and cut his losses, or go to the refinery and run it through their system and then come out with ultimately more resources that would be worth a lot more in the way of currency. And we feel these are interesting gameplay scenarios that would benefit the players.
When refining comes online in the upcoming Alpha 3.12, it will be the next step in not only the further development of the mining profession, but also tying it in with the continuing evolution of cargo hauling, the nascent maturity of piracy, and the future addition of crafting. But up next, let's look now at how weapon zeroing is being used to provide better agency to snipers across the galaxy.
Say I'm on a hilltop somewhere and I'm looking down my scope. If I'm shooting at someone 100 meters away, it generally wouldn't be too much of an issue. But if you start to get to 500 meters, a kilometer, or even further, then you really need to start countering that, and you will need some assistance the further and further away you get, and that's where weapon zeroing comes in. One of the best and most unique things about Star Citizen is the biggest challenge to any FPS game, and that is the amount of varied environments that we have. So if you think about it, if you go to a different planet or a different moon, the pull of gravity is always going to be different, the environment's going to be completely different, the weather even might be completely different. Trying to counter those effects and knowing how to counter all of those effects no matter where you are is obviously very difficult, and especially with the amount of varied weapons that we have, so different types of projectile, laser, ballistic, they all have different effects in different conditions. So in patch 3.12, we'll be introducing weapon zeroing. Our first offering includes 4 times and upward scope, so you'll be able to use those on your LMGs, your rifles, and your sniper rifles. There are 3 different types of scopes with zeroing on. So we have the most basic version of the scope, which is just the zeroing scope, is generally, I think, will be picked up by more experienced players who kind of know combat ranges that they're going to be in. They can set their scope to that and not have to worry about it anymore. So say if you're in the Crossroads of Crime map in Theatres of War, you know your engagement distance is roughly 100 meters generally. You can set your scope to that and not have to worry about it again, and it's no faff. The next version up is essentially that with a bit of assistance with the rangefinder. So this will be better for kind of, I guess, environments that you're less familiar with, but you still want that personal control over where you're setting your zeroing distance to. So if you're sitting out on a hill on a planet somewhere, you know that people are going to be getting out of their ships at this station and you want to take them out, then you can set your zeroing distance to that distance with the assistance of the rangefinder, and you don't have to worry about it again, you don't have to change it. The auto zeroing is probably the most user-friendly version, especially beginner-friendly version, is because you don't really have to worry about obviously cycling through the ranges yourself, and you can just look at your target. The only downside to that is if you are looking at a target and you accidentally look past it when you hit the auto zero button, you might zero to a distance a bit further away or a distance that's a little bit, closer. So it can be a little bit more error prone than the other two. So there are certainly upsides and downsides to all of the options, which is why we've provided them all. So that's weapon zeroing. It's not just another really cool feature we're adding to the game. It's all about giving players choice for equipping themselves out to overcome the obstacles and problems that they encounter out in the universe on all of these crazy different environments that we've got out there. So I'm sure that tons of players will be using these soon and finding them really, really fun. So yeah, thank you very much, and enjoy playing with the new scopes.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that refining means the job is no longer done once you've just extracted all the minerals. That it aims to provide opportunities for occupations adjacent to mining. And that weapon zeroing won't make bad snipers good, but it should make good snipers better. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you next week.